Yeah, I'm Matt Bissonette from the Squirts, the lead singer, bass player, male role model, and we're here to talk about the Squirts, our new album with Jason and
That
Chaotic
is
Riff.
right. And they're watching Chaotic Risk TV, man. Now, let me ask you, talking about role models, you come from a musical family. How much of an influence was your older brother Greg on you becoming a musician yourself?
Not much. No,
Okay.
he was a lot. He kind of pushed me in the beginning. My dad was a drummer and my mom played piano and vibes, and my dad got Greg playing drums probably when he was 11, 10 years old, and I was 8, and I just didn't want anything to do with music. And Greg would be running around with drumsticks, and my dad would be like, and my dad got him into gigs, and he took us to see jazz bands, and he took Greg and I to, our whole family to see the Beatles in 1966. So being a musician, my dad was, kind of put us on our trails, and then Greg was always there trying to get me to play, and I kind of put up a fight in the beginning. I didn't really want to play, and then probably around 10, 11 years old, I started picking up the bass, and we've just been playing together ever since then.
And
So
it's
yeah,
kind of interesting, you guys, like you pick the bass and he's a drummer, a rhythm section. You guys have played together over the years. Is that something that you intentionally thought it'd be cool if, we were a rhythm section together, or you just like the bass? Talk about why you chose the bass as your instrument.
I think that in the beginning, Greg, Greg always has a purpose and he always has something going on in his mind, and my dad as well. I think they were thinking a logical thing would be as a drummer is to have a bass player because they're a rhythm section. I originally thought when my dad and mom surprised me with a guitar in the back of the trunk when I went to pick it up, they got it for me and I with an amp in it, and I took it downstairs and we started playing Smoke on the Water, and I realized right away that's not the bow bow bow, it's not the guitar lick. I'm going, what's this? And Greg goes, no, you're the bass guy. Listen real close to the doom 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 doom
Yeah,
doom
yeah,
doom.
yeah.
Goes, that's you. And I'm going, okay, I'll do that. So just kind of, and it was easier than playing guitar. So it just kind of
Happened.
happened. And then throughout the years, I just got more into, listening to a lot of different bass players and bass soloists, and just, guys like Peter Cetera in Chicago, who's playing melodic stuff. Of course, Paul McCartney and all the guys, and then the jazz guys, and just kind of got into it and got into it fast.
And then, us talk about a lot of people like myself first learned of you and Greg when you guys were playing with the David Lee Roth band. He was there a few years before you, but once Billy Sheehan left the band, you came into the picture. And because of that, a lot of people think of you as a hard rock guy. But, interestingly enough, man, if anybody knows anything about your storied career, you played with everybody from David Lee Roth, Joe Satriani, Elton John, the Ringo Star band. And so that's what I dig about a cat like you that you can play different types of music. You don't just stick to one thing.
It's kind of a funny thing, especially in LA. You kind of get branded into a certain style or whatever. And Greg and I, from the beginning, were in college. We were just into every style of music. The first road gig I got was with Maynard Ferguson playing jazz, and we were both playing with Maynard. And then we'd see Journey would be playing in town, and then Greg would call Steve Smith and get us to go see Journey. And while we were so heavy into jazz, we took Maynard and the whole band to see Journey, and just seeing that, Greg and I, the lights went. We got to expand the horizons and learn all these styles. So when I got with Dave, it was a couple. I mean, I wasn't really, definitely wasn't a metal guy or a
Yeah.
heavy rock guy, but that gig opened my eyes to that kind of music. And I mean, I love Van Halen, of course, and Dave's band. And when it got kind of thrust on me, it was kind of a big learning curve, and it was great. And then I kind of got branded as the rock guy,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I just came from Sheena Easton's gig, so I was playing pop tunes like
Wow.
that she was writing with Prince and stuff. So went right to that, and it's just funny you get labeled that. And then I've just been, and that's, my heart is kind of all over the place for pop music and rock and jazz. So you just do what you do, and
I think
people say what.
that's a great lesson for a lot of up and coming musicians. I'm not a musician myself. I'm a music lover. I'm a music fan of guys like you. And I think it's a great lesson because even if you're into hard rock and metal or pop, whatever your case may be, it's kind of restricting to me to just kind of do one thing. Whereas, first of all, if you do like you do, Matt, you open the door to other opportunities. It's not so restricting, and I would think it makes you a much better musician being able to play different styles of music.
Well, it's a lot more exciting too because when you're just a rock player or just a
Yeah.
jazzer, I mean, I have tons of friends that are diehard jazzers and they've never, and then they're bummed out that they're not doing gigs like with rock bands or something. I'm going, you spent your whole life becoming the best jazz bass player in the world and you didn't think that was going to happen. You know, it's like you gotta keep your paths open and just, and Greg and I just, we were really into the phrase music vocabulary. Like if you can play every style of music enough to have it, like if Brian Adams called me tomorrow and I could play rock with Brian Adams and do a good job, or if
Yeah.
Yellow Jackets called and I had to sub for get the Jimmy Haslip or something. If I
Yeah.
could hold my weight in that band, then that's success, and plus just being open to that kind of music is just balance of life, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have you have to kind of listen to everything, not just one style. But there's guys that do one style and they are happy doing that. God bless them.
Yeah, yeah, whatever gets you going. But one other David Lee Roth related question. Now you did not play on Skyscraper, however, you had one of your songs that you were a co-writer on, Knucklebones, appear on that. That's a pretty cool tune. How did that happen before you were even in the band?
Well, they were when they first put the first album together. They had a bunch of songs that Steve and Billy had done before, and then they got to the second record, and they're like, "Wow, okay, we need to put out another record." So they were Dave was kind of looking around, and open to other writers and stuff. And Greg was, I had a publishing deal with Island Records at the time when I was living in LA, and I was just kind of writing for everybody and just writing my own stuff. And then Greg called me up and says, "Hey, we're kind of looking for a couple tunes." So I came up with the guitar riff for Knucklebones, and I kind of wrote
Yeah,
part of the music, and then Dave, of course, wrote all the lyrics and everything. But I just remember having my friend come over and doing a demo. The
yeah,
it's kind of a simple lick. And then they said they were going to do it. And then when I heard it, I was going, Steve Vai is playing my simple guitar lick, man. That's pretty cool.
wow.
So
Yeah,
yeah, that was really cool. So we got a song on that record, and then I joined the band after that. And then we like 1990, I think it was. We did Little Ain't Enough record up in Vancouver with Bob Rock, and that was great to finally be on an album. But yeah,
I gotta tell you, out of all Dave's solo stuff, of course, who doesn't love Eat 'Em and Smile? But I would say the next really solid album would be that one you mentioned, Little Ain't Enough.
a lot of people say that that should have been the second record, this the sound of it, because
Yeah,
Bob Rock did a great job, and all those guys up in Vancouver, they were amazing at. They were just coming off of Aerosmith and Metallica and stuff in that famous room up there, and it just got a great sound to it. I think the Skyscraper record was kind of Dave just going, I don't want to get pigeonholed into just
yeah,
writing
yeah.
this kind of stuff. And you got to admire Dave for always trying to keep it fresh. It's pretty amazing at trying to not just go outside the box as much as he could.
I
So
always love Dave. I mean, anything, he's got a ton of unreleased stuff you can find on YouTube. I wish he put it out, but it's pretty cool. Now let's talk about the Squirts because that's what you're working on now. You guys are on your third album. I was listening to some of the stuff, and for example, there's a song. Gotta believe you now. There's a very Beatlesque sound of it. Obviously, you're influenced very much like the Beatles, you can tell. And what I love about this too is, in addition to doing the bass, you're the front man. You're singing lead. You got that ability. Is that something you always wanted to do?
yeah, I remember being in college, being really into jazz and stuff. And my friend Paul Ventimiglia had a 8-track studio in his house, and he said, "Hey man, anytime you want to come over, just come over and you can write a song." And I remember putting on the headphones and then writing a song and then singing to it, and then doubling my voice, going, "Oh man, that's what the Beatles do," and then putting harmonies on, and I just fell in love with like vocal layers and different sounds and stuff like that. And it's just something I've been trying to figure out ever since I was 18 years old, and trying to get better at. So we had a band called the Mustard Seeds for a while with George, was the guitar player, was in that, and we were really into King's X. We loved King's X, and we had a band that was kind of like them, and it was around 92, and then music changed completely into Nirvana and different bands where it was a different sound. There wasn't like as many harmonies and stuff like that, so it kind of wasn't the right time for that particular situation. But we did 3 albums with that band, the Mustard Seeds, which we're really proud of. And I love singing and fronting a band. And I remember the first couple gigs we had, terrified of being that guy in front, because I've always worked with people
Yeah.
and gone, man, I could never do that, get up there and do that. But just started doing it and making mistakes and figuring things out. And we would go to clubs and we just go, the only thing we can do to get over this phobia is to make fun of everybody and to just kind of make it like the Beatles were kind of sarcastic about it. That got us through a couple of years of looking people in the eye and singing a song. So when the Squirts got together, we were the rhythm section for Rick Springfield's band.
Oh,
So Roger Carter was playing drums with Rick, and George was playing guitar, and I was playing bass. And we asked Rick at an airport, "Hey man, we're gonna do a record of our own. Is it cool?" And we phrased it like, "Can we open up for you guys? And basically, can we sell all our merchandise and make twice as much money playing for you? And but what it'll be, it'll be a glorified sound check for when you come up on stage. The PA will be ringed out and it'll sound that much better." And he was like, "Yes, let's just do it." So Rick was really cool and he let us do it for 4 or 5 years, So, and then just fronting that band was always fun. But it's just such a responsibility and it's so much work to be the guy, to be the guy singing and playing. Sometimes I just like sitting back, like with Elton or, whatever I'm doing. It's kind of fun just to be the guy back there.
yeah. I mean, again, going back to like when you play with David Lee Roth or even Elton John or these other cats, like when you're playing with somebody like Dave or Elton John, they're the front man. You're this guy kind of side man on the side of the stage. And maybe you got your fans too, like people have been following you all your career, but not necessarily everybody that's an Elton John fan knows, hey, the bass player's name is Matt Bissonette. But when you're fronting your own band, you're up there, you're singing lead, you got to remember the words, not just your bass parts.
Yeah.
All eyes are on you. I mean, that's got to talk a little bit about that transition, at least as far as the first time you did it.
Well, it's just kind of one of those things I remember in the old days, I used to be playing clubs all the time in LA, and I would just look at the front singer, the lead singer, and just go, man, it takes so much guts to go up there and talk in between songs and tell what this song's about and look people in the eye. And I never was very good at that. And I got a lot better at it just, in the beginning of the Mustard Seeds. I was playing at a small club. I think the biggest test is when you play for a few people that are your friends that are there, and you have to look your friends or your wife in the eye when you're singing,
Yeah,
going,
yeah,
I'm all in now. I mean, it's kind of one of those, you jump in the pool, and then, I used to be pretty shy and kind of quiet.
yeah.
My brother would always bust my chops about that. But that gig, the Mustard Seeds and Squirts, and just over the years, a bunch of different bands, it just forces you to be that guy. And I'm thankful for when I'm with other bands and I'm watching them do all the heavy lifting. And it's nice just to get paid to play bass and
Yeah.
sing backgrounds and not have to go out front and do that. But I think that's what everybody's dream is having their band and
Yeah.
their music with their words and doing their thing. And we do that whenever we can. But I mean, you just do
It's,
it.
it's it's not always the case, but I mean, there a lot of times the bass player is kind of the quiet guy in the band, the mellow guy. Um, you look at it, and then you look at somebody like Michael Anthony, that in addition to his bass playing, he was the background sound of Van Halen. They created that sound together.
Very underestimated. I mean, maybe not underestimated is the
Yeah.
word, but just we saw him play with Sammy last year. We were playing a gig, and they were playing the night before, and we went to see him. And just hearing his voice on the backgrounds, you just hear it, and you go, "That's Van Halen."
Yeah,
You
yeah.
you take that away, it's just a different kind of Van Halen or a different kind of band. So he's a great bass player and a great guy and a great singer, and a very recognizable part of that sound is his
Sure.
vocals.
Sure, and getting back to the squirts, I mean, there also must be a certain level of pride that not just that you guys put out a great album worth of tunes, but the fact that these are songs you wrote, Matt. These are songs that maybe from the pages of your life, telling your story more so than when you're playing with these other guys.
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of writing your own songs is you get to say what your worldview is or what you're thinking at the time. And that's something, it's a huge responsibility, first of all. I don't think most people, maybe they write songs, they don't think about it, they just throw out whatever comes to
Yeah,
their head. It's a weighted responsibility that when I write songs, the lyrics especially, I kind of go, some kid is going to hear this. There might be some 17-year-old kid out there that has this horrible life and he hears a song and it makes him go down the dark road even more. And then you go, I mean, that's a responsibility. So I kind of try and approach everything about here's a person's life. What can we do in this song to lift somebody up and to make them to be positive? Not to the point of cheesy and
No,
goofy,
no.
but just kind of something that changes their day. And if we can change the trajectory of somebody, then that's all you can ask for. And like most of these songs on this record were kind of written during COVID when we're all looking at each other going, we've all been deemed unessential. Music's out the window. It's never going to happen. Live playing's never going to happen again. So a lot of these songs are kind of tongue in cheek joking about the situation of coming out of COVID and
Mhm.
how ridiculous this is and how
Right.
certain things were labeled unessential and like not a good time for a clown, that song.
Yeah.
It's just about, there was thought police telling you if you sneeze in this crowd, I mean, you're going away,
Yeah.
just the crazy stuff that we went through in that time
I
that
mean,
we're so
yeah, not to get
we're far
political
away
here,
from it
but
now.
I live in California where we had a governor at the time would get on TV and was bragging about the fact that as long as he was in power, he was never going to allow a rock band, to play a live concert in Los Angeles again. Again, these are things that at once upon a time we never would have thought of. And thank God
Yeah.
it didn't come to that. But as a working musician, that must have been a scary time for you. Just the thought of, oh, now, the way I make my living, live gigging. Because again, people aren't buying CD like they used to be. That must have been quite a scary thought.
Well, I think it's every musician's responsibility to see what's coming ahead, And obviously, the music business is one of those businesses where it's probably never going to be the way it was 20 years ago. I remember writing songs for movies and TVs and getting thousands of dollars for royalties of songs, hundreds of songs that were being used. And one day, when the iPhone came out and people started giving away their music, it all stopped.
Yeah, yeah.
So you could sit there and go, "Oh, what am I going to do now? It's so bad." You just find other ways to make money, right?
You
Like
make
the
a very
kids.
good point because I do remember the one thing I did love about the pandemic, if there's anything to love about it, is
Yeah,
the fact that even at a certain point, bands started doing these live stream special events, from home or
right,
from the studio. I think Anthrax did something where they performed live at the Whiskey, but they didn't have any guests or whatever. And
right.
and it got to a certain point where Facebook started to see oh my God, they're monetizing this stuff off of Facebook. We want to get into the game, but
Yeah.
it did allow bands that opportunity that okay, if right now we can't play live, we can find other ways to make a living.
Yeah, that's the thing. It made everybody, especially older musicians, there was a time when Pro Tools came out and a lot of people were going, I'm never going to use Pro Tools because I just want to use 2-inch tape and
Yeah, yeah,
you have to change. You have to go. And the first
yeah,
thing when I kind of moved out to LA after a few years, I'm realizing back then I'm going, okay, I need to use every weapon I have to make especially when I got married, I'm have a
mm,
kid, I'm going, all right, I can't just be a jazz player, rock player. I need to facilitate everything I have going for me. Singing has kind of saved everything because you don't get gigs unless you can sing. It's kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
like that. Bass players that sing are a big commodity. So, went out and bought a computer studio, built a studio in my house and just figured out how to produce and write and just weaponize everything you have for your advantage. So, yeah, that pandemic thing, when they started nailing what was essential and not essential,
Yeah.
that was another day when I went, strip clubs are essential, liquor stores, but churches are unessential, and
I'm there
musicians
with
are.
you. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
just kind
yeah,
of went, okay, so that's a political statement that's going to affect us all. There's nothing I can do about it.
yeah,
So what I can do about it is in my little world, figure it out to make it work. You can't
yeah,
complain about who's running the city and the
yeah,
state.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I totally
But
agree.
believe me, I probably share the same views that you feel about that and still do. But that's the world we live in, and we just have
Yeah.
to figure it out.
That's what I dig is when people find a way around it. Um, like you say, instead of complaining about it, find a way around it, and that's success to me. Now, talking about like humor and stuff, that's present in some of your music videos. I was watching the video for Other Side of Paradise. It's a fun little animated video, and you can see the humor. Talk a little bit about how you came up with the concept of the video and the video itself, because it's pretty cool.
Well, the concept was I called Roger, the drummer, and said, put together another video because he did the Not a Good Time for a Clown video. He just did it himself, our drummer. And he goes, said, hey, let's do this song. And see what you come up with. And 2 days later, he came up with that whole concept. So he Roger's a pretty brilliant, smart guy. I mean, he was the guy that monetized the Squirts when we were playing with Rick, like figuring out going to the person who was managing the gig, whoever was the agent, and saying, "Hey, we
Mhm.
want this amount of money to play." Roger's pretty darn good at that. He's a great drummer and a great musician, but he just kind of put that thing together. I think all AI. He just went on and just kind of
Amazing. Yeah.
just figured it out. And I heard somebody sent me a song of a Mustard Seeds song called "Cats and Dogs." He was sitting at home and he goes, "Hey, give me with Chat GPT." He goes, "Give me a jazz version of Cats and Dogs from the Mustard Seeds with a jazzy singer." And 2 minutes later, this song he sent it to me. It was amazing. It was like this jazz version of this song that I wrote 30 years ago, that we wrote with the Mustard Seeds, and and I kind of went, there it is again. There's another bullet in the musician's foot that it's over. I mean,
See,
as
see,
far as if they can do that and have it be musical and good, that's now. Imagine next year that song's going to be 10 times better. It's kind of a matter of time before, if musicians don't do something, it's just like screenwriters,
yeah.
they have to do something because it's not going to be pretty, for the next
Yeah,
50 years.
again, that's why I love talking to guys like you, Matt, that are still out there pumping out new music. Because you could be at a point in your career where you say, you know what, nobody's buying CD. Let's just go out there and play live. Um, but again, to me, that kind of misses the whole point. I'm an old school guy. I want to hold it in my hand.
Yeah,
I want to
I
see
know.
who wrote the song.
We'd love
Song.
to see like the old Chicago records where you'd open it up and there's the whole band, the
Yeah,
pictures and their names and what they play and how they came up. It's like, yeah, unfortunately, those days are gone, but we can still, we can still do it, right? We can
yeah,
still
yeah.
keep doing what we like. And if people don't like it, I mean, I keep telling everybody, I've got about 10,000 records of my CDs of mine in the attic that nobody will ever hear. And that's okay
And to
because I,
me,
I
if
did
the
them.
music's good, people will check it out. I mean,
Yeah. And that's the
that's what I
thing.
love about a band like the Squirts. Because I'll be honest with you, until your publicist Dave reached out to me, I of course am aware of who Matt Bissonette is, but I never heard of the band. And he sent me a press release on the band. I checked out some of the music from a new album. I dug it, and my feeling was, you know what? I want to go see what these guys did before. I want to check out the other two albums,
Yeah.
and I dug it. For somebody like me that's just discovering the Squirts. It's a nice kind of collection of music. A nice. Oh, I got 3 albums worth of stuff to check out. I can't wait to
Well,
see what they do
I
next.
appreciate that, man. And we need more people like you that actually love music to support it and to listen to it. I mean, I'm guilty of it too, man. Sometimes I don't listen to things like I should and learn new music and hear it. I kind of tune it out, and I'm embarrassed to say that because I'm a musician. My friend John Mahan, who plays percussion with Elton John, he did a seminar for a bunch of students, and first thing he said was, "Hey, how many people out here? There's like 300 people. How many people out here have bought a CD or an album in the last year?" Like two hands come up.
Yeah, yeah.
How about in the last 6 months, no hands came up? And he goes, "What do you want me to talk about? You're
Mhm.
destroying, you're eating your own,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, if you're not going to support it and check out new music, what are you doing getting into this business?" So, it's depressing and it's sad with that stuff. But the point is that if I don't keep writing stuff
Yeah.
and lose purpose, then and retire someday soon and sit around and play golf, I'll probably be dead in a year.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
need to keep doing this and exercising these brain muscles and write music because I mean, what a blast to write
It's what
music.
you do, right? And then you mentioned the song Not a Great Time for Clowns." Again, I visually, it's a wonderful video. I mean, what it actually took me back to days I used to, when I was a kid, I used to love to go every year to the Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey Circus. It really took me back to that. Sadly,
Yeah.
they've since
Yeah.
closed down the circus, but it brought back some great memories. So, what is that song specifically about? Is any of that?
I love in Seinfeld when Kramer's afraid of clowns. Every time he hears
Yeah,
clowns,
there you go. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
well, that's another video that Roger did. He did it really quick and just pulled old footage and stuff. I mean, that song basically was like during COVID. Um, there was the thought police and there was the
Yeah, yeah.
people monitoring what you're doing. And in California, I'm in California too. I live in Orange County, and it was pretty ridiculous where you're just going. okay, they're making moves that are just so unconstitutional and so weird. But what are you going to do? Are you
Yeah, yeah.
going
Got
to
to get
fight
on
it?
with life.
End up
Yeah.
being, yeah, So my one of my pastors who I used to go to church, John MacArthur, who just I found out today is in the hospital, really bad shape. He was the guy that went after the government about the shutdowns and all that stuff.
Okay.
Put
Wow.
up a serious fight about that, and
Yeah.
he's an amazing pastor, amazing man, and it's just basically a song of not a protest song, but just kind of how ridiculous this whole situation is, and it's not a good time to say the wrong thing because
Yeah, yeah.
they changed vocabulary, they changed every angle of life was started to put in a bubble of you can't say this, you can't say that. If you say this, you're thisophobia. It just got so ridiculous that the only thing we could do is write a song and laugh about it.
Yeah.
Because what do
Well, beautiful song, beautiful video. Again, it's and it proves the point that if it's a great song, people will dig the video, and you don't necessarily even need to have a band in the video,
yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and it still works.
Well, yeah, we don't want we used to be in our videos in the old days when 20 years ago, but I mean, 64 years old,
Yeah, yeah,
it's like Andy Partridge from XTC would say, why would anyone want to come see my pound of flesh or whatever he would say?
yeah, yeah.
There comes a certain point where it's just better for everybody. We thought about putting like a really young, good-looking band to it and put it out and see if everybody, to see what would happen with that. But we're all older guys now, and we're good, and we're fine with it. So we figure videos without us, we're saving everybody a lot of headache.
There you go. You still got the great songs though, man, and that's what it's all about. Now, why don't you tell people before you wrap it up for today, if they want to get the new Squirt album 3 or any of the previous releases, how they can do that, where they can find you on the web?
Yeah, well, my website is mattbissonette.com. I got all my stuff on there from different things and the squirts and everything. We're with Dave, Vanity Records, where Dave's label is. You can go on that label and it should be on there. And then we also have it for digital download on Bandcamp under the squirts. But a warning, don't put in the squirts in your browser because I'm not responsible for what comes up because it's some crazy stuff out there. So that's my warning. But
Wow.
yeah, we should be out there on YouTube and Spotify and all that stuff. But to get the record, I would just go through for a physical CD through Dave at Vanity Records, and yeah, hope you
And
guys.
are you guys going to be playing out any live shows at all? Because I know you're busy with other stuff as well.
We're threatening it. I'm off the road. I'm on the road right now in Syracuse, New York, and I'm going to be done in September. There's talk about some stuff hopefully happening. We'll see. I mean, it's kind of a big effort to get everybody together to do it, but we'd really love to do it because we really love this record and we're proud of it and would love to play it for people.
And final question for a day, Max. I know you're busy, you got to go. I'd love to have you back another day to talk some more. But for today, I got to end it on this. Tell us the story behind the band's name, the Squirts, because obviously that's one of the first things that gets people's attention.
Yeah, yeah, either good or bad, right? It's basically we used to be on the road with Rick, and we would all watch Three Stooges videos and the Little Rascals and stuff.
Yeah,
And I remember the guy with the propeller hat, and
yeah,
Spanky and Alfalfa and stuff. And we're kind of a bunch of old little kids. I mean, Roger, the drummer, is out of control. We'd be on the road with Rick Springfield, and we'd be in airports just sitting there, flights canceled, and he would put like a $20 bill on a fish hook and put it out in the middle of the airline thing. And then when somebody went to grab it, he'd reel it in, and the person would go chasing after the $20 bill. He's the same guy that would change all the hotel room numbers so that in the middle of the night, everyone's going into the wrong rooms. So we're a little bit of mental, we're a little behind the times. So
yeah.
we're kind of the squirts because we're a bunch of old idiots, and not too serious about things. I mean, everyone's serious about
Yeah.
worldview issues and things that are important, but I mean, it's music, it's just music, and
I'm
it
proud
shouldn't.
of it, right? Yeah, not
We're
ashamed of who
proud,
you are.
yeah,
Yeah,
we're proud of it, and we don't take ourselves too seriously, obviously.
that's great. Well, I'd like to thank your publicist Dave for setting this up. He's a great guy in his own right.
Awesome,
And
buddy. Great to meet you. Thanks for reaching out, man. It's great to see you and your
yeah,
cool
I'm
logo back.
a music fan myself, so we'll have you back because so many more questions we could have asked, but we want to be sure we focus on the Squirts because that's a great new. I want to say new, but a great band that more people need to know about.
Buddy, I appreciate the kind words. You're a good man. I'll send you $5 in the mail, at
Thank you,
least.
Mr. Bissonette. Thank you. Bye bye.
All right, buddy.